In this video, we're going to be converting fractions to decimals. So first we're going to start with 1 divided by 6, which is the same as this form. We're going to write this out as 6 on the outside with 1.00 on the inside, because in order to get a decimal, we're going to need a number bigger, so that way we can either get to 0 or a number repeating. So bring up the decimal, and then 6 goes into 1 0 times because it's bigger. So now let's see how many times can 6 go into 10. That'll be 1 time, because if you do 6 times 2, you'll get 12, which is greater than 10. So 6 times 1 is 6, and then you just subtract and you get 4. Then bring down the 0 and you see 6 goes into 40. How many times? Well, let's write out the multiples of 6. We have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and 36. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 goes into 46 times, because you don't want it to be greater than 40. You want it to be less than or equal to. In this case, we have it less than. So 40 minus 36 is 4. And then we add another 0. And here's where you see a pattern. So then, again, 6 goes into 40 and can only go into 40 6 times. So if you keep on doing that, you'll keep on just getting 4 and having to add a 0 and 6 at the top in the remainder. So now you have 1 over 6 is equal to 0.16 with a line on top, which means it's repeating. Next we have 4 divided by 5, which is same as this form, which is also 4 divided by 5. So now we're going to write it out. 5 on the outside, 4.0 on the inside. Bring up the decimal. So 5 goes into 4 0 times because it's bigger than 4. So now let's see how many times 5 can go into 40. Writing out the multiples of 5, we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and then 40. So that goes into, 5 goes into 40 evenly, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're at 8. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract 40 from 40, you get 0. And so now your final answer will be 4 over 5 equals 0.8. Now we have 3 divided by 5. Same as this form, 3 divided by 5. So I have 5 on the outside and 3.00 on the inside. Actually, we just put 1 0. Sorry. And then you bring up your decimal. So 5 over 3 0 times, and then 5 can go to 30. Let's see, 6 times. Because 5 times 6 is 30. And then you write out 30 minus 30, which is 0. So now you have 3 divided by 5 equals 0.6. Now we have 1 divided by 3. Same as 1 divided by 3 in that form. So you'll write it out as 3 on the outside and 1.0 on the inside. Bring up your decimal, and we see 3 goes into 1 0 times. So now let's see how many times 3 can go into 10, which is 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9, which is not equal to 10, but it's less than 10. But it's close. So we do 10 minus 9, which is 1, and then add a 0. And here is where you can see it'll be repeating. Because again, we have to see what number can go into 10, like with multiples of 3, which is just 9. And then you just get a pattern. So we keep on doing this, we'll just go in circles. But now our final answer, you'll have 1 over 3 equals 0.3, with the line on top of 3 meaning it's repeating. Now let's try something with greater numbers. So we have 131 divided by 1,000, which is the same as this. All right, so we write it out in a form where we can find the decimal. You have 1,000 on the outside and 131.00 on the inside. So then you're going to want to bring up your decimal. So 1,000 goes into 131 0 times. But 1,000 goes into 1,310 1 time. And so 1,000 times 1, you get 1,000. And when you subtract the 2, you get 310. So then you're going to want to bring down the 0. So now you have 3,100, and you want to see how many times can 1,000 go into 3,100. That would be 3 times. So 1,000 times 3, you get 3,000, and you subtract the 2, which you get left with 100. And so we want to get to 0. So we add a 0 and bring it down to the 100 where you have 1,000. So you have 1,000 goes into 1,000 one time, and then you have 1,000 minus 1,000, you get 0. So now your answer would just be 0.131. For our next problem, we have 81 divided by 1,000, which is the same as this form again. All right, so you're going to have 1,000 on the outside, and then 81.00 on the inside. Bring up your decimal. 1,000 goes to 81 0 times. 1,000 goes to 810 0 times. 1,000 goes to 8,100 8 times. So you have 1,000 times 8, which is 8,000. Subtract that, and then you're left with 100. So you're going to add a 0, and then we're going to bring that 0 down because we want to get 0 as our remainder. So now, to get 1,000, you have to multiply that by 1. And you subtract the 1,000, and then you're left with 0. So now your final answer is 0.081. For our next problem, we have 11 divided by 100, which is the same as this. All right, writing that out, you have 100 on the outside and 11.00 on the inside. Bring up your decimal. 100 goes into 11 0 times. 100 goes into 110 1 time. So now you have 100 times 1, which is 100. And you subtract, then you're left with 10. I don't know why I put 0 there, sorry. You're left with 1 and then 0. Bring down that 0. You have 0. 100 goes into 100 1 time. So 100 times 1 is 100. Subtract that. You're left with a remainder of 0. So now your final answer is 0.11. Next we have 183 divided by 1,000, which is the same as this. And then to find our decimal, again, we're going to have 1,000 on the outside and 183.00 on the inside. Break your decimal. 1,000 goes to 183 0 times, but 1,000 goes into 1,830 1 time. So you multiply 1,000 times 1, get 1,000, and then subtract the 2. You get 830, but bring down your 0, and then 1,000 goes into 8,300 8 times. 1,000 times 8 is 8,000. Subtract the 2, you're left with 300. So let's add a 0 and then bring that down because we want to try and get 0 as our remainder. So 1,000 goes to 3,000 3 times. 1,000 times 3 is 3,000, and then you subtract the 2, and you're left with 0. So now your final answer is 0.183. Now we have 21 divided by 100. Again, it's the same as this. Then we write out to find our decimal. We have 100 divided by 21.00. Bring up your decimal. 100 goes into 21 0 times, but 100 goes into 210 2 times. So then you have 100 times 2, which is 200. And you subtract that, you get you're left with 10. And then you bring down that 0. 100 goes to 100 1 time. So 100 times 1, you get 100. Subtract the 2, you're left with 0. And now your final answer is 0.21. Our next problem is 5 divided by 8. Something a little bit easier. So now you have 8 on the outside and 5.00 on the inside. Bring up the decimal. 8 goes into 50 times, but 8 goes into 50. Let's see, let's write out the multiples of 8. You have 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 8 goes into 50 6 times. And then so you subtract 50 from 48. And when you do that, you're going to follow the borrowing method, I believe it's called. So you have 10, and then take away, you have 4. So 4 minus 4 is 0. 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down to 0. 8 goes into 20. Well, let's see. There's no 20, so it can only go into 22 times, which is 16. So then 8 times 2 is 16. You subtract that, and you're left with 4. And then you bring down to 0. 8 goes into 40. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times, so 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 40 is 0. So now your final answer is 0.625. All right, for our next problem, we have 17 divided by 10, which is the same as this form. And so let's find our decimal. We're going to have 10 on the outside and then 17.0 on the inside. So now bring up your decimal, and then so you see 10 goes into 17 one time. 10 times 1 is 10, and you subtract that. You're left with 7. Bring down to 0. 10 goes into 70 how many times? 7. So you have 10 times 7 is 70, and then you're left with 0 as your remainder. And so now your answer is 1.7. All right, this last one, we have 407 divided by 1,000. This problem is not hard at all either. It looks pretty intimidating, but it's not. So 1,000 outside, and then we have 407.000. All right, bring up your decimal. 1,000 goes into 407 0 times, but 1,000 goes into 4,070 4 times. And then so we have 1,000 times 4 is 4,000. Then you subtract, you're left with 70. And then you're going to bring down that extra 0. And then so 1,000 goes into 700 0 times. And then you have 1,000 times 0, which is 0. So 700 minus 0 is just going to be 700. Bring down that extra 0. 1,000 goes into 7,000. 1,000 times 7 is 7,000. And you subtract the 2, you get 0. And now your final answer is 0.407.